Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinema Flow podcast. I'm your host, Zack, and today I'm joined by not a guest, but for this episode, my co-host, Angelique Acuña. Welcome back to the show, Angelique.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I've been awoken for Oscar stuff.
Yes, this is your ninth episode, and on your 10th episode, you get a free bagel.
Thank you for the bagel. I appreciate it. But yes, I'm very excited to be here today.
Yes, you are our resident Oscar expert, so I have brought you here today to do the 2027 Oscars fantasy draft. This is sort of like fantasy football drafts where we each are going to pick 10 movies that we think are going to be nominated for Best Picture. And the way it works is if I pick a movie like The Odyssey, you can't have it, and vice versa. If you pick something like Project Hail Mary, I can't have it. So we're
Wow,
each going to draft 10 movies, and whoever ends up getting more movies correct, that person's going to win.
heck yeah. And then what happens if one of us does win, my dear friend Zach?
The winner will get to force the other person to watch any movie of their choice. Or in your case, you might want me to watch like two episodes of Survivor.
I'll have to consider that when I win. So,
Oh, really? Well, it's interesting. We do bets on the Oscars, and this most recent Oscars, we were betting on the winners, and we tied.
yes, we did tie. And my lovely boyfriend Sean won.
Exactly. And I think we know most of the contenders. There are probably going to be some movies that pop up in the fall festivals that we don't know about right now. But I think we have enough contenders that we can each draft 10 movies that have a good chance.
Heck yeah, me too.
Yeah. And we're each going to pick one backup movie in case something gets delayed.
Heck yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So I will let you take the first pick.
Me,
What is the first movie you are drafting? The movie that you think is most likely to get a nomination at the Oscars for Best Picture.
I think I'm gonna pick our most recent Palme d'Or winner, Fjord. So that'll be my first pick.
That's a very, very good pick. Fjord, I'm just going to tell the audience a little about it. It's
Mm,
inspired by real events. It
mhm.
confronts the contradictions of a society that advocates tolerance and openness to others, but which can brutally exclude those who deviate from the path laid out for them. And this is a neon movie starring Renata Reinsve and Sebastian Stan. Why do you think this is the number one movie?
Sometimes with Palme d'Or winners, it can either, be a really good prediction on what's going to get nominated for Best Picture, or it couldn't. Like, for example, last year, It Was Just an Accident was not nominated for Best Picture, and that was a huge disappointment. But I do think with Fjord, it does have Renat Reinsve and Sebastian Stan in the cast, and Renat Reinsve also just came off the back of being an Oscar nominee, so I think that is a super prominent reason why it could be nominated. And I think Sebastian Stan is also a fantastic actor. So it has those A-list names to it. Well, I feel like It Was Just an Accident and didn't have that.
Yeah, and It Was Just an Accident was probably number 11 last year. It got close. There were just a
Mhm.
lot of international films from Neon that probably overtook it, but it still got nominated for screenplay. And in this case, you're right. Like Renata Reinsve was coming off of Backrooms and Sentimental Value, and Sebastian
Mhm.
Stan got nominated for The Apprentice. So I don't, and this is Neon, of course. So I think it's a good bet. I would not have picked it as my number one, to be honest, but a lot of the recent Palme d'Or winners did get in, like Anatomy of a Fall. Honora won Best Picture. That was a Palme d'Or
Yeah.
winner. So it's a good pick.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then it's your turn.
Well, I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm going to pick The Odyssey as my number one pick to be nominated. There are a lot of obvious reasons, but I think that this movie is going to have the support from the technical side of the Academy. All of the craftsmen are going to vote for this because I can easily see it getting 10 nominations. So I just think it's going to get in. And the pre-sales were through the roof. You can't get a seat in an IMAX theater for this movie, at least on 70 millimeter. So I think it's going to be a big hit. I think it'll get nominated. Worst case scenario, it's at the level of Tenet or Interstellar and it doesn't get nominated. I mean, Interstellar is a great movie, but people forget that actually did not get nominated for Best Picture. So it's not a slam dunk, but it is my number one pick.
Yeah. I do think it's a pretty good option too, especially since right after his Best Picture win. And I think all eyes are on Christopher Nolan right now. And the anticipation's high. And I think he will live up to that expectation.
Absolutely. What is your number two pick?
I'll do the number two pick. I'll go for a more safer option with Digger. It's Alejandro Inarritu. Inarritu hasn't had something come out in a hot second, and I feel like he's just, he has that code for getting into Best Picture. I can talk about the log line. The most powerful man in the world races to prove he is humanity's savior. Before the disaster he unleashed destroys everything.
Oh, I'm pissed about this. And
I
Yeti
know
is my favorite.
that's why I was being nice and I went for Fjord first because I'm like, I'll let him take Digger. But you went for the very, very safe option.
I did because I want to win. See, I love Iñárritu. I mean, Revenant, Birdman. I even love Bardo, which was nominated for Best Cinematography. That was his last one. That was 4 years ago. But he hasn't had a Best Picture nominee since The Revenant, where Leo won. And I think this will be nominated. However, the reason I did not pick it as number one is because it is a comedy and it's also very satirical and maybe even political, is what I heard. It's kind of like Doctor Strangelove, which I think I'm gonna love this movie. I think it might even be my number one of the year. We'll see. But I think it's a less safe pick than The Odyssey. But I think you're right. I think it will be nominated, and I'm very jealous that you got it in your draft. Well, my number two pick is Project Hail Mary, which everyone knows this. It's the Ryan Gosling space movie directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, based on the novel by Andy Weir. And it was a huge hit. It made 600 plus million dollars. It's Amazon's biggest movie ever. And it's amazing. And the reason I'm picking it at number two as a very safe pick is because we've all seen it. And I think similar to the Odyssey, it's going to have the support of the craftspeople in the Academy. And I think it could get like 8 or 9 nominations. It's not going to win Best Picture, but I think it's a very safe pick to be nominated.
No, I agree. I think this is right now one of the biggest films in terms of box office and just like anticipation as well. And I remember when we saw it, or we didn't see it together, but I remember one of the things you said was you believe that it could go all the way and win Best Picture when you first saw it.
I did say that. I even said that on the podcast, and I don't think it's impossible. I think people do love this movie. If I mean, it's going to be most. I think if you were to poll most critics today, it's probably most people's number one pick of the year so far. We'll
Hmm.
see if that's still true
Yeah,
after a few months, but I
I
think it's
agree.
sort of like Sinners in that it's the early movie from the year that's going to go all the way to at least a nomination.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, what is your number three pick?
Okay, I'm gonna go back to back easy ones. I'm gonna do Dune Part 3, the most anticipated third movie of the Dune franchise. Villeneuve is back for one last time. So I can't see why it wouldn't get nominated unless it really flops hard. I don't think so. I think it's gonna do well in the box office, and I think it's gonna carry. But yes, this is mostly about Dune Part 3 is, I think, mostly Dune Messiah, the second book of the Dune franchise or book series. So I think, enough said. I think it's going to be do well no matter what.
I think that's a great pick. The only thing going against it is that Dune Part 2 got way less nominations than Dune Part 1,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't a super strong year. That was the Anora
Yeah.
year. And I think
That,
it probably
that's
was because it came out early.
yeah, that's definitely my perspective of it, which, you have Project Hail Mary, so I guess we see how it also has legs.
I mean, Sinners is
But
the most nominated movie in history, and that came out early in the year, so it's weird. I don't know. I
yeah, it
think
was
it,
in I
yeah.
think it was late April,
I think with
I think.
Dune 2, I think it was also just the fact that it's a sequel. I think sequels get less nominations, but
Mhm.
I do think Dune 3 will be nominated, so it is good
Yeah,
pick.
will it do a Lord of the Rings, Return of the King?
They're marketing it as the last one.
Yeah, or at least the last one that Villeneuve will be
Yeah.
fronting. So,
Well, it'll be a great experience. I'm gonna
mhm.
pick my third pick for Best Picture, and I am gonna go with Disclosure Day.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
reason I'm going with Disclosure Day is because we're recording this on June 5th. The reactions to the movie are out, and they are extremely positive, and people are saying it's one of Spielberg's best movies this century.
Oh,
My only thing going against it is I don't think it's going to be a big box office hit because I
yeah, I
feel
was gonna
like,
say that.
yeah, I mean, just anecdotally, like one of our friends, I asked her, like, do you want to see this movie? She was like, not really. I'm not that into it. So, I don't know if normie audiences are going to go for it, but I
Yeah,
think
no,
quality will prevail.
yes, I was actually listening to a podcast about this, about their kind of insecurities with Disclosure Day. And it's more like millennials who love Spielberg, they're just not going to the theaters as much anymore. So, and Gen Z folks are going, Obsession and Backrooms are saving theaters right now, guys.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the new generation's taken over. And as a young filmmaker, no one has more reverence for these old guys than me. But I can't help but recognize that while I'm very excited and we already have tickets to see Disclosure Day with our friends, I think most
Hmm.
people, I don't think they're going to go for it. And you can see Spielberg's really promoting it hard. He never does podcasts, but he's doing them. And I hope
Yes.
it's a success. Maybe the word of mouth will let it have good legs. Sheep Detectives did not open big, but it's holding well. So people are going to see it.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, I think Disclosure Day could be, because I think it could have legs. Like I'm excited for it. Definitely it's not like my most excited one. I do have a weird feeling that like I think when it comes to award stuff, I feel like Disclosure Day might not perform well, but I could be proven wrong.
Fair enough. I mean, it's interesting. Fablemans definitely did not make money. I loved it. And West Side Story as well did not make money. They still got in. So I think there's just some loyalty to
Oh yeah,
Spielberg. I mean, they don't
I
always let him
agree.
in, but when it's a good movie like these last two,
I guess we'll see because
yeah.
Fablemans was more of like a grounded film, while this is like back to his roots of like E.T., Close Encounters. I haven't seen that. Oh, but I think this is more back to his roots, so we'll see how the Academy takes it.
Yeah, your pick.
Well, okay, my next pick, I'm gonna choose for my home country, not my actual home country, Chile. I'm gonna do Wild Horse 9 because it's about Chile. I don't think there's any Chilean actors in it though, but it takes place in Chile. But the synopsis of it is it's a British black comedy and it's written by Martin McDonagh, who was nominated last for
The Banshees of Inisherin.
the Banshees in Inisherin, and it's starring Sam Rockwell, John Malkovich, Parker Posey, and it comes out in November. So I think it's in that sweet spot of Oscar movie release season. So I think it has some good things backing it up.
Absolutely. And you said it's Searchlight, right? They always get something in, or almost always.
Yes.
I think last year was the first time they didn't, but they didn't have anything. So, well, they had some movies, but none of them hit. I think this will hit. He's a great writer. He doesn't just get out of bed and make a movie for nothing. This is his first movie since Banshees, which was like 4 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So
I fully agree with this pick. Nothing going against it, unless it's bad, but I don't think it will be.
yeah, it could, for all we know, it could not get the critic and the audience reception that it needs.
Yeah, but at the worst, it'll be like Seven Psychopaths, where it's a good movie but doesn't get in. But I think it will. Anyway, my fourth pick, okay, I'm gonna do something out of the box because I don't want to just play it safe the whole time. I'm
Okay,
going
okay.
with The Black Ball, which is a musical that Netflix bought at Cannes, and they paid a pretty penny for this movie out of Cannes, and it has excellent reviews. I think it can have the Emilia Perez package where it's like above the line, below the line, although hopefully a better movie, which I'm sure it will be. But yeah, I'm hearing a lot of solid buzz about this movie, and Netflix always gets something in. And it's sometimes not the movie you expect, sometimes it's Train Dreams. So I think this could be like that.
True. No, I think that's a good pick. And like you said, Netflix tends to get something in. Yeah.
What is your next pick?
So I think I'm gonna do something new, but I'm gonna put in Club Kid. And Club Kid premiered at the Cannes Film Festival this like in May. And it's the directorial debut of Jordan Firstman. And it's a American comedy drama film about the club scene and the club culture in New York during the 1990s New York. I think I heard amazing things about Club Kid. It was nominated for the Camera d'Or and the Queer Palm. It didn't win anything. It also wasn't in competition either. So,
All
but
right.
we'll see. It's a very big maybe because it could also be delayed. There's no announcement of it being released in American cinemas just yet. And I think A24 might back it, but it could also do like a Sorry Baby run.
I think that's a very good instinct to pick an A24. You're right. It could be Sorry Baby, could go all the way. I think I'm gonna pick an A24 movie as well because they're definitely gonna get one movie in. The untitled Jesse Eisenberg musical comedy starring Julianne Moore and Paul Giamatti. I think I read that the title is No One Cares, but that's not confirmed. The log line is a shy woman is unexpectedly cast in a local production of an original musical. Under the spell of the strong-willed and enigmatic director, she loses herself in the role and the high-stakes world of this community theater production. So Julianne Moore is the actress in the musical, and Paul Giamatti is the director. Jesse Eisenberg was nominated for A Real Pain for screenplay, and then Kieran Culkin won the Oscar. So I feel like he's a really good writer, and he could do whatever he wanted to do after that movie, and he chose this. Sounds like a slam dunk, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's kind of tricky at times though, because I do feel like there's some of these movies I'm like, damn, there's gonna be really good, but it might only get like a screenplay nomination. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky, or might only get like an acting nom. So, but I think it's good to be daring and see what sticks.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's interesting because I don't want to have like all people who have been previously nominated or, institutional people. I want to have some like newbies like Black Ball or Club Kid. But those are hard to predict sometimes. But that's the fun of this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, this is something, like if I'm being so honest, I don't think it's gonna be nominated for Best Picture, but this movie has my name written all over it. It stars my favorite actor, my favorite singer is in it, but I'm gonna choose Lance Oppenheim's Primetime, A24 film. The trailer looks amazing. If you're not super aware of what prime time is. It's basically about Chris Hansen, who's the host of To Catch a Predator, and it takes place in 2006, where he makes television history. We don't know too much about it, but it's Phoebe Bridgers' fall, Robert Pattinson's year. He's going to be in The Odyssey. He's going to be in Doom Part 3. He was also in the drama. So I think it's going to be his year, and I think multiple of the movies he's in are going to get nominated for Best Picture. But this is going to be one like I feel like I'm doing a little more like out there picks, but this one would just be so fun to see. So, and I feel like for myself, I need to see it on my draft.
That's a good pick. I'll be honest, Club Kid, I'm more skeptical because it has been seen and I don't see it being predicted for Best Picture. Prime Time is sight unseen. So that I actually have more faith in.
A24 Neon tends to put a lot of horses in the race, and they can't always support all of them. So we'll have to see which ones they decide to support.
Exactly. And it's sort of trial and error because, A House of Dynamite was thought of as a big contender for Netflix. And there was another Netflix movie last year Jay Kelly. I love that movie. But that was thought of as a contender out the gate. But then it wasn't working out. So then they shifted to Frankenstein and Train Dreams and put their effort behind those. So you're right. And speaking of Netflix, there is one more Netflix movie that I do think will be nominated, and that is my next pick, which is The Adventures of Cliff Booth, which is the sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, written by Tarantino, directed by David Fincher. Brad Pitt's coming back. This movie is going to be released in IMAX on Thanksgiving and then debut on Netflix on Christmas. So I think it has the prime release date. Once again, I do think this will have the support of both the above the line and below the line categories. The only question is, will it be as good as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Because some movies like Hateful Eight, they get some tech nominations, and even that movie even won original score, but did not get into Best Picture. So we'll see. But I think Tarantino is so picky that I don't think he would have, put this movie into production unless it was a good script.
Yeah, but is Quentin Tarantino is directing this, correct?
No, David Fincher is.
David Fincher's directing. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was
So
nominated for Social Network a
yes.
few. Yeah,
Mhm.
Mank was like 6 years ago. Yeah, I feel like that's a safe pick. What is your next one?
My next one. Okay, this is also going to be like a fun one, but this also got a lot of talk throughout the Cannes Film Festival. I'm going to choose Hope. Hope got a lot of buzz. I remember hearing from people. People were like, "What do you think's going to win the Palme d'Or?" And people were like, "I think Fjord's going to win, but I would love Hope to win." But this one is a South Korean epic science fiction action thriller. It is about aliens. The Year of Aliens, folks. It's by the director Na Hong-jin, who is in the South Korea cinema world very famous. He did The Wailing, which is another horror classic that people really like. But again, this could the Academy is more open to South Korean cinema and blockbusters in general. So this could be a fun one. I miss having fun, y'all. You never know. My fun could, big risk comes big reward.
That is true. I cannot praise this pick because I've
Yeah.
heard very mixed things about this movie, or very polarized things. Some people love it, some
Mhm.
people hate it. But I've heard it's very much an action film, very light on story, which is why I didn't expect you to pick it. But I respect the swing.
Thank you. I try.
And my next pick is going to be The Social Reckoning from Aaron Sorkin.
I was gonna choose
I felt like you were, which is
that.
why I got it. So,
Yeah.
well, it's not really a sequel, but it's a spiritual follow-up to The Social Network. Aaron Sorkin has talked multiple times about wanting to make a movie about January 6th, and I think he channeled that into this movie. People always give him shit and say he doesn't know how to direct. I think he directs very well. I really enjoyed The Trial of the Chicago Seven, which was nominated for Best Picture. I also loved Molly's Game. That was nominated for Adapted Screenplay. I didn't really like Being the Ricardos, but that still got nominated for three acting categories. So I think this will be good. It's a Sony film, so they're putting it in theaters. I think it'll get in, unless it sucks.
Heck yeah. We'll see. We will see. My next pick is going to be one I feel like we know of it. We don't know too much, you could say. No trailers are out for this movie yet, but I'm gonna choose Sense and Sensibility. It seems like, the Academy loves a period piece and it's a remake from a beloved movie, so it does have that working maybe against it, but like I said, I'm gonna be silly and just choose the things I would like to see in it.
I actually think that's a very good pick. And you're getting stock in something that's low right now that I think
Mm.
will go high because now that Narnia is delayed, you need to have at least one female directed movie in Best Picture. And there
Mhm.
isn't really a clear one. So I think if
Mhm.
this movie is great, I think it could be. There could be a place for it. Not that a movie would get nominated for that, but you want to have, you don't want the whole Best Picture lineup to be a sausage fest.
That is true. And I do think, the Academy does love a period piece, like I said. Could be
Absolutely.
good.
The only thing going against it is it might be a little been there, done that.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
but I do think it's a solid pick. I'm going to also follow what I just said, and I think I should pick at least one female directed movie. I'm gonna go with Being Human, which is directed by
Okay.
Sean Hayter, who did my favorite film of 2021, Coda, which won Best Picture, and she won Best Adapted Screenplay, and Troy Kotsur won Best Supporting Actor. It's about a disability rights activist named Judith Human, and it co-stars Mark Ruffalo. It's just a matter of if is this movie great? If it is, I think it could go all the way. If not, we'll see. But I'm excited for
No.
it.
Yeah, we'll see. I also think Coda's win came at a time that the film industry was very unpredictable. It did win during the pandemic year. So, but I do think people love Coda. It's a very crowd pleaser type of film. So I wouldn't, you know, be shocked to have her next film be very similar.
Okay, what is your next pick?
Okay, I'm going to choose Fatherland. That's going to be my next. See where I'm going? I'm going to like my big swing hits, and then I'm going back to my like grounding ones that are a little more safe. But you got to have a mix in there. But Fatherland actually just premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. Same director of Cold War, who is
Powell Pawlikowski, Oscar
Oscar
winner
winner.
for
Yeah,
Ida
exactly. Exactly.
Pooler.
Sandra Hüller is in it, and she came from, she started Anatomy of a Fall, got a lot of buzz around that, and also was in Zone of Interest.
Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary, yeah. So it is, while it is the year of Robert Pattinson, it's also the year of Sandra Hüller.
And he was nominated for Best Director for Cold War, which is interesting because that movie wasn't in Best Picture. But the Academy is that was when it was becoming more international. Now it is very international. So I would not be surprised if this got into Best Picture. The only thing going against it is that I've seen Pawlikowski's movies, both Ida and Cold War. They're very slow,
Yeah.
artistic, not super audience friendly. That's the only thing going against it. But maybe if Sandra Hüller's in it, that gives it a little more buzz.
Yeah, I agree. But also, you never know. You never know. So I feel like
Definitely.
there's always like one very like slow film that gets into Best Picture. It's a little bit like more artsy. Zone of Interest was one of those, I think, meditative type of film. So I think because this one I think is also black and white, so stylistically it could scare people away.
Definitely, yeah.
And international, double like black and white and international. So you're gonna expect audience to read subtitles and not see color. So I guess we'll see.
Yes, that is your ninth pick, and I'm going to go with Cry to Heaven, which is the
Okay.
new film from Tom Ford. It's interesting. People think of Tom Ford, you think of clothes or perfume or something. You don't think of film director, but he has directed. This is his third film. His last one was Nocturnal Animals. This film stars Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Adele, Hunter Schafer, Mark Strong, Colin Firth, and Julianne Moore. I don't know much about it, but it's based on a novel. I think it sounds like a good contender. What is your 10th pick?
Okay, I'm gonna choose again, I'm choosing another like international film. I'm gonna choose Minotaur. That won one of the top prizes at Cannes. It's a political drama thriller about it's in the backdrop of the Russia-Ukraine war, and it's about a business executive who finds out his wife has been unfaithful. So I think that could be a real contender. It won the Grand Prix, which is the second highest you can win at the Cannes Film Festival. And if we remember last year, who won the Grand Prix? Sentimental Value. So that's my strategy with choosing this one. Movie is distributing it.
Mubi is getting more and more into the game. They did The Substance, and now they have Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, which probably not an Oscar contender, but they're getting more into theatrical. That's not a bad pick. That's a smart one. So for my final film, I am gonna go with Jack of Spades, which is the new film from Joel Cohen. It is a gothic mystery starring Josh O'Connor and Frances McDormand. And nobody knows anything about this film. It's an original, but I think Joel Cohen is the more serious Cohen. We saw that from The Tragedy of Macbeth, which didn't get into Best Picture, but it was well acclaimed, and I think it was just a little too Shakespearean for normal audience members. I think this will be more accessible, and I think he'll get in. We each get one backup pick in
Mhm.
case one of these movies gets delayed, like Narnia got delayed. So, what is your backup pick?
Okay, I'm gonna choose a safe option actually. So I think I want to choose All of a Sudden. I think I'm gonna choose that one. I think that's a good safe one.
That's from Hamaguchi, who directed Drive My Car, which was
Yes.
nominated for Best Picture and won Best International Feature. So, that's a very good pick.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And it also just premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and I think it did win some things. Best Actress. It won Best Actress.
I'll tell you what's going against it though, and the reason I never picked it is because it's a very, very long film. It's like 3 hours and 15 minutes, and it's
Mhm.
very talky. But Drive My Car was also long, not quite as long. I think that was like 2.5 hours, but
Mhm.
still, I think it's a good pick.
You never know. The Brutalist got into Best Picture. And that was a
Exactly.
very long film.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite films of that year. So
My backup is going to be Behemoth, which is the new film from Tony Gilroy, who made Andor, and it's about film music, and it stars Pedro Pascal, Olivia Wilde, Will Arnett, and Eva Victor from Sorry Baby. I don't know much about it, but the Academy does love movies about movies, and this is a movie about film composers.
that is true. That's actually one I was gonna pick up as my backup. I literally was thinking of that, but then I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's not a lot out there about it right now. So I wanted a backup that was like for sure. Like, if any of my indies don't get out there, then this one will for sure, like, have a contender in there.
Yeah, what are some of the movies neither of us picked, like that you think have a chance?
Okay, so I was actually conflicted because I thought about choosing Werewolf, Robert Eggers' new film, and Nosferatu didn't get into Best Picture, but it did get some, technical nominations. So that's one to keep an eye on, but it's not one I think is going to nominate for Best Picture.
Yeah, I think Robert Eggers' time will come, but it's going to come when he does something different that's like undeniably his best film. This one won't be it. But another
I
one
agree.
that I really thought about and I have my eye on is Misty Green, which is the new film
Mm,
directed by Chris Rock from A24. And it is a drama. And the reason I thought about it is because his last film, Top Five, was super well acclaimed. And that was like 12 years ago. That one I just needed like a trailer for or something like to see.
yeah, I agree. Other than that, Tony is also one that people have eyes on. But again, that could be one that's just like an acting nomination. You never know, but it's a biopic about Anthony Bourdain, led by Dominic Sessa, who stars as him, and a friend of the podcast is directing it.
Friend of the show, Matt Johnson, told me about what made him want to do this movie, so you can go listen to that episode. And I'm very excited for this movie. Honestly, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie should be nominated for Best Picture. And Tony, I hope will be as good. God knows I love Blackberry, his previous film before Nirvana, so I'm very optimistic
And
for
that
this.
that got a lot of buzz around too. I feel like Nirvana, the band of show movie, is also getting a lot of buzz, so I think people will show up. But yeah, it's one is that it's also A24, correct?
No, Nirvana. Well, Tony, yes,
Okay.
Tony is
Yeah,
A24. Nirvana was Neon. Nirvana could be like an Independent Spirit Award nomination, or maybe
that
even
is true.
Golden Globe comedy.
That is true. That is true. We shall wait and see with that. But other than that, I think we covered like the big ones that are currently out.
Yes, and just once again, my draft is The Odyssey, Project Hail Mary, Disclosure Day, The Black Ball, Untitled Jesse Eisenberg musical comedy, The Adventures of Cliff Booth, The Social Reckoning, Being Human, Cry to Heaven, Jack of Spades, and then my backup film is Behemoth. Angelique's draft is Fjord, Digger, Dune Part 3, Wild Horse 9, Club Kid, Primetime, Hope, Sense and Sensibility, Fatherland, Minotaur, and her backup is All of a Sudden. One question the listeners are probably wondering, can Indy Navarrete get nominated for Best Actress for Obsession? Can she get that lone nomination like Amy Madigan did for Weapons? Your thoughts?
I don't know. I think optimistically, sure, but I just don't think so. I think especially because
Lead is
with
competitive.
exactly, lead is very competitive. Supporting, it's easier for horror to maybe slip in. But unless because I feel like the lead has to be Demi
It's got to be,
Moore.
yeah, Demi Moore.
Yeah, Demi Moore was good, but she also had like the legacy behind her. She's very Indie is very new.
I think if it's supporting, it's not entirely fraudulent. She is supporting, you know. It's really in his perspective the whole movie. I think it's worth a campaign for supporting for her. Will it happen? If you gun to my head, I say no.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I
That's how
also
I feel.
probably would have said no for Amy Madigan if when the film had come out.
Yeah. No, I guess, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it all really depends of what the studio's back up.
Well, before we wrap up the show, you have a Substack that I would like you to
Yes.
tell people about.
Yes. Hey everyone, I have a Substack. Right now, if you watch Survivor season 50, if you're sharing mixed feelings, I have a series where I wrote about every single episode. My Google Doc for it was 80 plus pages, so I worked really hard on it. If you're interested, you should read it. But if you're not a Survivor fan, I am planning on doing or writing about music, film, and maybe other TV shows. We'll see. Definitely take a break from Survivor. So if you want to jump on that wagon after the Survivor wagon has passed, by all means. But yes, it's called Silly Times with Angelique, and it should be linked in the description.
Yes, it is in the description. Thank you for your ninth appearance on the show. Yeah, we'll revisit this Oscar conversation in some form, maybe after the fall festivals. Thank you, Angelique, and thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of the Cinema Flow podcast. I'll be back very soon with more fun movie chats, but until then, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.